Welcome to the Bible for Kids podcast with your hosts, best-selling children's author Amy Parker and author and co-creator of VeggieTales, Mike Nawrocki. If instilling biblical values in kids is important to you, this podcast will help give you the resources, wisdom, and hope to do just that. Now, let's join our hosts, Amy and Mike, for this week's episode.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Bible for Kids podcast. I'm Mike Nawrocki.
And I'm Amy Parker.
And we are so happy to welcome back Yancy to the Bible for Kids podcast. Yancy was with us the last time in the BC, which is before COVID, when we were all in one recording studio over at WayFM. We're excited to learn more about her new release, even though we are now in our own secure and undisclosed locations. But before we do that, we'd like to begin with a Bible verse.
And this Bible verse is Colossians 3:16. Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly as you teach and admonish one another with all the wisdom through psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts.
So as I'm looking at Yancy's bio, we're just going to focus on the kids portion of it because she's done a ton of stuff in the music world. But a few years back, she embraced a calling and an opportunity to start leading worship and writing songs for children at Church on the Move in Tulsa, Oklahoma. While she never abandoned recording adult studio albums, her songwriting muse soon shifted toward a kid-friendly twist, birthed merely out of a void within her own congregation, particularly when it came to providing praise tunes to accompany their preschool program. So like I said, I mean, she's done so much. I could go on, but we need to start talking to Yancy. So Yancy, rhymes with Nancy. Welcome back.
Hey, good to be here with you guys.
Good morning. And Yancy is always sparkly or bright, which I love that about her. And so you can't see her, but you need to know she's wearing a hot pink jacket that matches her hot pink hair. Yes. So it's always a joy to talk to you.
Thank you.
Yes, and exciting news, your little praise party series just released its 5th project. And we hinted at this a little bit in your bio, but tell us more about this. Tell us how the series began.
Yeah, so the Little Praise Party series I do for younger age children, and that really just started at the time I was on staff at Church on the Move in Tulsa for a couple of years. And really just had the job and role of making sure we had some songs for our preschool kids to sing that tied in with their curriculum, where they would have a good song each month that kind of went with that. And so that's kind of how the first project happened, was really just creating a music project for our local church, something that would fit the needs that we had. And once we released that and fast forward a little bit of time, and I had ownership of that project. So I had then made videos to go along with it and whatnot. And really it just, many churches, all across the US and throughout the world really started embracing those songs. And I think that's what it does, is it fills a need that's out there. And I think that's why it's been well received, and something that, just has the vision has grown for it, as you see how people respond. So it's been a fun journey.
Yeah. Well, and I love the heart behind it. Little Praise Party is about inviting your hearts to a relationship with Jesus by beginning a foundation of theology through the discipline of worship. So how do you focus your songs for these kids' phase of life?
Yeah. Well, for me, it just comes down to deciding what are some messages that I feel I want to talk about and share about. What are some of the messages that I know church leaders and parents are going to talk to their kids about, throughout the year. There's just some of those common denominators that are out there. And then two, I like to look at it and it's like, what's the song that doesn't exist? Let's not just keep reinventing the same wheel over and over, but like, where are those gaps? And like, what is there not a song that talks about, whatever subject? And so I do that. And just, I think for me, understanding the, just the weight of responsibility that this has, if I rewind in time a number of years to Dana Key, who was part of CCM rock group,
DeGarmo and Key. I remember, yeah.
I know, but when Dana passed away, there were multiple people in life that I knew that started writing some little blog posts, just about the effect of their music on their life. And these were people that were completely not related to each other. And so, it's like, it was independent, feelings and reactions. And yet they both were writing the same thing, just about how much DeGarmo Key's music had shaped their theology.
Yeah.
And I don't think that oftentimes Christian musicians are always writing and thinking about that perspective. But for me, it really highlighted the responsibility that I have as a songwriter, as an artist, as a performer. And just for me, my audience is kids and little praise parties for young kids. And so it's starting to draw a box to help them understand who God is and what that means in their life. And so
well, you do
that intentionally.
Yeah. Well, you saying that reminds me of, not necessarily a kid, but a young adult, listening to DeGarmo Key. And particularly for me, it was Keith Green. I remember Keith Green's music was so influential for me. And so you're absolutely right. That stuff just gets into their heart. And of course, with, same sort of outlook we had with VeggieTales, it's like this is shaping their spiritual development from a young age. And so it's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think back to the songs we sang in church, the kids' music that we did in the 80s, and it was like deep and wide. And I don't know that I ever knew what the fountain flowing deep and wide actually was when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. So, I mean, Jesus loves me. I got that one. But I think it's just so important to write music that kids aren't going to just rotely memorize, but they're actually going to internalize and know what that means. So I love that about your music. And changing gears a little bit, you had a pretty life-altering trip to the Ark Encounter that inspired this new project. So tell us all about that. What happened?
Yeah, so I did. I got to go see Ark Encounter, which if you don't know what that is, basically the people at Answers in Genesis built a exact life-size replica of Noah's Ark. And obviously that's a story that you've heard about and you've read about for decades in life. And just, seeing with my own eyes the size of it in person, just really, confirmed for me, like, oh my goodness, Noah heard from God and was convinced he had heard from God to do this. And, you think about just what technology was like and what it would have taken to actually build something of that size then. And you realize you're like, people would have been laughing at him. They would have been mocking him and pointing a finger and, all the things that we've talked about at one point or another. And I just walked away from that experience that day just really overwhelmed with the idea that Noah obeyed God, period.
Yeah.
Like he took action and he did what God was telling him to do. And honestly, I had been procrastinating this little praise party project in my life because it was just one of those things, like I didn't have all the finances to pull the trigger on it. And so, I was like, well, if I don't have all the money to go make it happen, then why even bother finishing these songs that are, random voice memos in my phone or, little ideas where it's like, hey, there's something there and that could be something. But honestly, I wasn't even taking the time to like sit down and complete the song because I was like, well, I don't have all the money in the bank account to write the checks. And so for me, that experience was just really kind of eye-opening for me to realize, hey, if I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing, I can start taking steps. Yeah. And the money doesn't have to be in the bank account for me to finish the songs. And the money for the videos doesn't have to be in the bank account for me to go record the songs. And so it really just made me start taking some steps to complete this and really just go on a journey of, walking by faith to complete this project. And so I wrote a song in particular called Ready, Set, Go. That's about this aha moment of seeing Noah's Ark and realizing Noah's obedience. And I had the idea to write a song, Ready, Set, Go, a number of years before. And honestly, initially just thought, oh, it'd be about running your race towards the prize, that whole scripture. But once I sat down to actually complete it, thinking about this whole Noah concept, I just realized that it's so many people in life don't ever finish their race because they never began their race. Because they were making excuses or, sitting on the sidelines waiting for something. And so it just kind of shifted. It still says that other idea within it, but it's so much more about what is God asking you to do right now? And how are you putting that into action in your life? And then the bridge of the song is really fun because I go through and share about, I think, 9 different Bible characters and just what it is we can learn from their life and what it is about their life that I want to take ownership of and put on display in my life. And so it's a special song and I'm excited about it.
Well, yeah. And the whole thing with Noah, it was that obedience was birthed out of trust and faith, in that relationship that he had with God. It's like, I'm close enough to you to know that how powerful you are, how much you love me. And therefore, I can obey and I can trust this, seemingly crazy thing you're asking me to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And most of the time, the money is not in the bank account until we take that step of obedience. And even as much as I know that, and I've seen that in my own life, I still ask that question. I'm still hesitant because I don't have steps 7 and 8 planned out. And then I'm afraid to do steps 1 and 2. But if we're truly walking in his obedience, he lays out the path for us. But we have to take that step of obedience toward him first.
Yeah. And I'll just add too, I think, for me, it was a realization that, hey, we are here because Noah obeyed.
Yeah.
If Noah had not done that,
right,
like the rest would all have played out differently. And so realizing that your obedience affects someone else.
Absolutely.
And it might be specifically your family, but there's other people that you might go to church with or you work with or whatnot. And I came to a realization that the ripple effect of your obedience goes far beyond what you could ever imagine. And there's so many pieces at play. And we oftentimes don't realize in the immediate moment what our yes actually means for someone else. Sometimes we find out decades later, sometimes we find out 6 months later. It might be heaven when you completely realize what your yes and what your obedience meant in the life of someone else.
Yeah, that's we could stop there and we'd have a great podcast.
Well, although we can pause here to take a short break. Dan's
all right.
the 12-minute signal. So
okay.
we're gonna take a short break and we'll be right back on the Bible for Kids with Yancy. Get swept away by God's awesome story with the Epic Bible. This graphic novel-style Bible features dramatic illustrations created by some of DC and Marvel's best comic book artists. Whether someone is reading the Bible for the first time or looking for a fresh perspective, the Epic Bible's cinematic storytelling will make God's Word come alive and reveal His redemptive plan for all humanity. Perfect for teens, comic book fans, and graphic novel readers. The Epic Bible, God's Story from Eden to Eternity. Available for pre-order wherever books are sold.
Imagine a world where children of every hue know they are equally created in the image of God. This, friends, is God's heart revealed in His Word. A quote from Dorena Williamson. In her beautifully illustrated book, Colorful, author Dorena Williamson tells the story of 2 best friends who are learning to celebrate their different skin colors. As they look around them at the amazing colors in nature, they can see that their skin is another example of God's creativity. This joyful story takes a new approach to discussing race. Instead of being colorblind, we can choose to celebrate each color God gave us and be colorful instead. This book includes a parent connection, an easy tool to help you discuss the book's message with your child. You can also visit www.bhkids.com for a free, colorful, downloadable activity journal to help you and your kids grow deeper in your faith and understanding of kingdom diversity. Colorful is available wherever books are sold.
Hey, Bible for Kids listeners, we're always looking for ways to give away free resources for you to use with your kids. So look us up on social media and find out what's going on our Instagram and Facebook page at The Bible for Kids. Welcome back to the Bible for Kids podcast, and Amy and I are speaking with Yancy.
So, Yancy, you recently released a new song called Made in the Image, and it was a very timely message for our nation. So tell us about that, why that message was so important to you, why it was so important that you write that song.
Yeah, so it's crazy cool how God works. I really had started writing that song about a year before. I had been performing at an event at a Christian school, and they were doing kind of a variety show. There was something in that show that night that just kind of stuck out at me, and I went home on my drive home and started writing this song, Made in the Image, because I knew it was important to highlight that God had made man, woman, boy, girl, all in the image of God. And had a friend of mine sing on this song with me. We started working on it last fall. No idea what all was going to unfold over the past number of months, and released that song in May, which that was just kind of where it had been planned out that single was going to release, and ended up just being very timely just to talk about diversity and talk about how every single one of us matters. And so it's definitely one of those where you can see God going before you,
Yeah,
in your plans,
absolutely.
because it was just an awesome thing just to be able to provide families and churches with, just to be like, hey, as you're having this conversation, as you're talking about this, here's a song that reinforces that we were all fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God.
And sometimes a song can say that so much better than us trying to explain that. Having a kid sing along with it and plant those words in their heart can just, it can just explain it better than we ever could.
Mm-hmm.
And we know you love writing seasonal songs for families and churches, and these Easter and Christmas songs help, obviously, us to all celebrate. So what kind of seasonal songs did you feature on this project?
Yeah, so I have a history of writing a lot of Easter and Christmas songs and birthday and songs of thankfulness and loving others and all that good stuff. But this project has a Christmas one. I think we talked about that last time, not about the weather. It kind of ABs hot Christmas and cold Christmas. And then there's an Easter song called He's Alive, He's Alive, which is just a big old dance party celebration. And then a new thing for me, which was writing a song for moms. And so it's called I Love My Mom, and something great for that Mother's Day season and whatnot, just to celebrate moms. So I love writing songs that kids, whether it's at an event at church or school or whatnot, that they can participate and perform that song, through those special times of the year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I love too that you give kids permission to have a big old dance party about Easter. I think that's so important to instill that young, that this is truly something that we can truly celebrate. But you don't make hokey sounding kids music. I'm just going to lay that out there. Some of it, as parents, I've listened to my share of Barney was the big thing when my oldest one was little. And so talk about grading. But we love that your song. Oh no!
Got the Barney laugh going.
Yes, now I have PTSD. But we love that your songs sound big, but they have a specific message. Or I love your motto, making Jesus loud. But they have a specific message that's just the right bite size for kids. So tell us how you create kids music that they can understand and internalize, but that also rocks.
Yeah. So I think some of it just comes from my background. I started off as a artist and songwriter that was just making music for the sake of making music. And so I still like to do that. Yeah. It just so happens that my audience is kids. And so what I really focus in on a whole lot more is just vocabulary, arrangement of the song, making sure that it's not overly complicated. It's not a song with 4 verses and no repetition and whatnot. And so keeping in mind, the age of my audience and just the vocabulary, how much it needs to repeat, how singable it is. Those are all kind of the key ingredient measurement, factors for me and the music. And just, try to come up with a concept and then figure out, even sometimes when it's kind of a hard concept of like, okay, how can I make this big thing still be fun and approachable, for this age child?
Well, I listened to the Hungry and Thirsty song on the demos that you provided. It's a great song. And in the notes, I see that I guess it might be in the interstitial that Funny Man Dan from Hillsong kind of joins you there. And there's this banter that helps kids understand, this big concept of being hungry and thirsty for God's word in a way that they can understand. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Exactly. And I think that's a great example. It's just like, okay, hungry and hungering and thirsting for God. That's kind of a big concept when you start thinking about, okay, well, how would a 6-year-old approach that? How would a 4-year-old approach that? Yeah. And so I think Funny Man Dan, who he's known for laughter and jokes and all sorts of stuff throughout some of the Hillsong Kids curriculum and whatnot. He's a friend, and I just kind of approached him. I'm like, hey, I've got this song and I feel like it would be a great thing for you to be a part of. And so he I think made it more fun for kids and asked some silly questions, throughout that I'm sure if it was them just hearing me talk about that concept, they would ask some of those same questions, like, how can you eat God? How can you eat God? And so I think he really kind of personalizes where their thoughts are. And then the song itself, kind of answers that and helps them understand a little bit more. So it's very fun. So there's a version with Funny Man Dan on it, and there's another version of the song without, just knowing that, again, I have a lot of churches that use my stuff. And so the banter might not make sense for every situation, but I think especially in the car and families and home, like that provides a fun option for the kids to understand that big concept.
Well, maybe since this is an audio show, we could even play a little bit of that. Hungry and Thirsty.
Course.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's and a 1 and a 2 and a 1, 2, 3. Give generously, save wisely, live appropriately. Don't you wish you knew how to handle and manage your money better when you were a teenager? Do you want to provide the teens in your life with a tool to help them better prepare for the future? In the Money Challenge for Teens, author Art Rayner introduces readers to some fictional young friends who are navigating financial waters and learning how God would want them to face college choices and car loans and thoughts about retirement. Yes, even as a teenager. While reading about the fictional friends' steps and missteps, readers will learn simple, practical lessons and adopt real-life goals to start their journey to a healthy and godly financial future. And check out Art's other titles as well: The Money Challenge, The Marriage Challenge, and Find More Money, all available everywhere books are sold. Author April Graney is back with her new kids' book, The Marvelous Maker. For a limited time, buy The Marvelous Maker at Lifeway.com and receive The Marvelous Mud House for free. Here's a taste of the book.
The beginning was good. All was as it should be for Adamus and Genevieve, until dark desire filled their eyes, and they gave in to the tricky tempter's lies. But the Maker heard their cries and humbly took on flesh, vowing to the tempter, "I'm not finished with you yet." Creation, fall, redemption, and the hope of final restoration. The Marvelous Maker by April Graney, available everywhere books are sold.
Okay, favorite listeners, we are always giving something away. Free books, yay! So to win, check out our instructions on Instagram and Facebook at The Bible for Kids. And just look for the Bible for Kids podcast at Google or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. So Yancy, as a musician and a mom, what has your ministry looked like during these last few months of quarantine or playing off the BC, the DC during COVID? So I suppose recording is doable because I guess you're locked in a room talking to us right now. But what about performing and how has that balance worked?
Yeah, it's, there's been so many pieces of life that are still exactly the same as they were before. I already homeschooled my kids and worked from home when I'm, at home in town and not traveling and stuff. So certain elements of life just kept on moving forward. And then, the weird part is it's like I've only done one live in-person event in all of this time so far. And, obviously had certain things that kind of switched to online situation, certain conferences and like speaking opportunities and stuff. Those things kind of stayed intact, just were maybe done a little differently. So yeah, it's just a lot of pieces are still plugging along. And then there's other things where you're like, what in the world is going on? And it's weird being used to doing live shows because people also aren't booking live shows for the future. That's the weirdest part about it.
Yeah. That's
like
got to
not
be tough.
seeing things stack up, for the future. But
wow.
hopefully all of that will be behind us before.
Well, yeah. And you got to, it's like, I think there's going to be such a huge demand, this pent up demand for we want to go out and see somebody sing in person.
Live shows every night.
I know. I went to the Toby Mac drive-in, concert because I was just like, I haven't heard live music coming through a big set of speakers. I think that was one of the telling things. So the one summer event that I got to do, my youngest son was with me. And at this point, our church has not been meeting in person yet. And so just the awareness all of a sudden as a parent of how much time and how big of a gap of time this has been in his little 4 years of life. Like we were on the airplane, he had not flown since January. And it was like this kid had never been on an airplane before. Like, he asked me a million questions that day. Then I talked about going to do sound check. And he was like, what's a sound check?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
A child of mine does not know what a sound check is.
And then we're in the church auditorium and he looks up and he goes, why do they have so many screens? And I was just like, oh my gosh, my kid doesn't remember what a church looks like.
It's probably a good, like 20% of his life. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So, it's like, it's easy for us to be like, hey, it's a handful of months or whatever. But when you start looking at it through your kid's life and just how big of a chunk of life this represents for them, it's like, oh my goodness, there's going to be some like relearning of what certain things are and whatnot. So,
well, and to me, it kind of points to also, there's been all this talk of, okay, well, with what's going on with, technology, we're able to kind of, do things more kind of on our own. And, in higher education, it's like, okay, well, you can go online and take classes exclusively online. But all of this is pointing to, I'm seeing this in my students as well. People want to be together. Kids want to be, on campus together. People want to be in a worship ceremony together. People want to go to a concert together. And so I think it just highlights that need that we have, to celebrate and worship communally.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, can you tell us if there's anything? I know it's maybe hard to look at right now at this particular time, but anything that you're thinking that might be new on the horizon for you in terms of new projects or tours or anything?
Yeah. So this little praise party project that I did, the Ready, Set, Go bundle of songs is fully out and released and all that. And there's actually a second bundle of songs that we've been working on. And so that is something called Out of This World. And those songs will start rolling out this fall. And then the full bundle will release at a later date as well. So lots of new music and new videos for Little Praise Party is the most obvious thing. And my music is available too through Minnow. It's available on TV in Smile of a Child, Yippee, lots of different places that you might be accessing stuff for your kids. Like you can look up Yancy and find my music there. So lots of new stuff is rolling out at some of those places. And then, I don't know, I have a couple of book ideas that I know I need to start executing. So that's
call me.
I know.
I'd be happy to help.
Probably on the horizon sooner than later. So
yeah, that's awesome. And so I know as an author, so I've had now two books released during this weird time. And then I have another 2 books releasing coming up soon. And so as far as promotion goes, this whole, I would usually do a lot of live or in-person events at schools and readings and stuff to help promote. I know for you as a performer, that's even more so. So how can we help you? You've just told us where a lot of your music is available. How can we help you get the word out about your new music? And what have you found to be the most efficient way to do that right now without actually going into a church and performing?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing is just, hey, tell your friends,
Yeah. Share it on Facebook. If you have 1,000 friends.
Obviously all of my music is on the music platform. So if you're an Apple Music person or Spotify or Pandora or whatever, like go follow me, go build a playlist, go listen to it. Every time you listen and play, like that helps me. And then 2, like follow me on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and like and comment and share those posts, repost it to your stories or something and just share with your friends that have kids or grandkids even that could benefit from this music. Tell them about it and just help me spread the word that way.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how impactful that is. They think, I'm just going to share this. But for, when you're like us and trying to get the word out about certain things, it is so helpful for even just if you engage with us, if you comment on things on Facebook, more people see it. So there's this entire science that I don't understand, but behind social media marketing itself. So something that feels so simple to someone, just casually on Facebook, it really impacts promotion for people trying to get the word out about their products. So
I end up with a lot of top fan badges on Facebook. And sometimes when I get the notification, it makes me chuckle and then almost feel awkward of like, am I really liking their posts more than like all of these other people and whatnot? But I do know how some of that stuff works. And so, it's like, I'll like a lot of things, as long as I know it's not representing something crazy that I, just like I'll just like away, as I'm scrolling through because I know that like means so much in the long run. But then when I get that badge, all of a sudden I get self-conscious. I'm like, maybe I have a problem. I'm awkward and weird and I'm a crazy.
No, so this is a challenge, all you listeners. Go out there and earn your top fan badges. Especially on Yancy's page.
It's like a Facebook trophy.
So, Yancy, thanks so much for coming back and joining us. And where can we find you? On your website, and obviously Facebook, Instagram?
Exactly. YancyNotNancy.com. And then also Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all those places with the username of Yancy Not Nancy as well. And any music platform, just type in Yancy or type in Little Praise Party and you'll find me.
Awesome. Great. Well, we can't wait until we have you back in the studio again in person.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you. And listeners, you know that we are always giving away free stuff on our socials, so don't forget to follow us on Instagram or Facebook at The Bible for Kids or at our website, thebibleforkids.com.
And we'll see you next time on The Bible for Kids. And Yancy, thanks so much once again.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Bible for Kids podcast with Amy Parker and Mike Nawrocki. Be sure to connect with The Bible for Kids on Instagram and Facebook and at thebibleforkids.com. We'd love to hear your comments and ideas for future podcasts. You can email us, info@thebibleforkids.com. The Bible for Kids podcast is part of the Way Nation Podcast Network. Find more podcasts at waynation.com.